forget about it. And
You know
then,
it's bad right now? Should I take it down?
no, but I know you're wearing shorts because you posted it on your story.
Well, I was wearing shorts, but then I got too cold. So now I'm just wearing like my super comfy gray sweats. Yeah, okay. I see some nods, so it's okay. It's okay.
They should all be muted. You're not muted. I'm going to mute myself in a minute, but I know that you are on a time crunch, so we're going to get started. I want to give you a quick little intro. First of all, hello.
There it is.
Hello. So for those of you that don't know, I talked about it on our team call a little bit last night. Kindra gave them a little bit of context as how you kind of came into our world, and that you spoke last year at the Beachbody Leadership Conference. And I think really every person who was there in the audience fell in love with Kindra immediately. All the girls did, and then we all wanted to be her best friend. And then some of us may or may not have stalked her since then.
But you have become. I was thinking about that. I'm like, how is it possible that Julie really did become like one of my best friends? Like, I feel like I was going to write you the other day to see if your daughter's in New York babysit. And Michael's like, that might be weird. Like,
yes, because they're college kids and they need money. So
exactly.
yeah. Yes. So it's just so cool because as I've followed her journey and I watched her, write this book and get this book out, and then as social media does, the best kind of social media does, you learn about how we're both obsessed with SoulCycle. She has a daughter who is a ballerina, and of course, Josie was a ballerina, and they live in New York City. I sometimes wish I lived in New York City. I have two that live in New York City, so there just seems so many commonalities, but what she does so brilliantly is remind us all that we do have a story. And I don't know about you, but I have struggled with that for as long as I've been a coach. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway, is a reminder that we do have a story, that our stories matter. And then in this amazing book, she teaches us how to unearth those and share them in a much better way than we might, and to know that our stories do make a difference. They're the connective tissue for all of us. So she is here to share any and all things. And as we talked about, Kindra, if they've got questions, they're just going to type them in the chat. And if we've got some time, we'll kind of go over those. So y'all have questions, put them in the chat. We'll look at them. We'll try to share the most important ones with her. And Kindra, don't forget to put the link for the pre-order.
Oh yeah, I'll type that in. Yeah, that's a good idea. And what time? So we're on from 8 to 8:45, right?
I'm going to mute it. I'm going to mute myself because nobody needs to hear me. And then go up in the corner, everyone, and type speaker view so you can see her cuteness in your whole screen.
Oh, should I do that? Do I?
No. Do you want to see
your? You're right. No, I don't want to see myself. Okay, good.
But we want to see you.
Okay, good. I would have been I would have done it and then not know how to stop doing it. And I would have been like, how do I get my face out of the, well, thank you so much. Well, first of all, I said it a couple minutes ago, but I have just loved getting all of your messages throughout the day, just saying how excited you are. And so thank you, first of all, for making me feel so welcome. And of course, I wasn't surprised because Julie, I don't really know. I should go back and look through our Instagram messages and see what it is that made us like so connected. But I just adore you. And I know that like attracts like. So I have no doubt that every woman and the men who are on this call tonight, I would adore it just as much. So yeah, as you heard last night, and by the way, thank you for joining for an extra bonus call tonight. Like, this is a bonus call, and I just looked, it's at the same time as Bachelor in Paradise. And so some of you are sacrificing big right now. And I realize that, I know that. But as you heard Julie say, so my expertise is entirely in the power of storytelling and the power that our stories have to connect us to people. And the truth is, I discovered this, well, actually, let me take a step back here. I want to tell you about just a couple of days ago when I discovered this power. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you about a story, but I want to tell you about my absolute love. I think it's love for Beachbody. Like, I love Beachbody. Like, you're like the Energize. I drink that now instead of coffee before I have to go speak because it gives me a more controlled energy. And then just the other day, I went to go get I don't know if you can, now you're in speaker view, you're going to regret that decision. But I went to go get eyelash extensions because when I speak, I sweat so much that even my eyelashes sweat. And then I was getting like sweaty mascara marks underneath. Maybe that's too much. But I went in to go get my eyelashes redone. And the girl, she's done them before, but the girl, as she was doing it, she was like, Kindra, I was laying there for an hour, which an hour is a lifetime for me. Like, I take off my watch that tells me to stand every 15 minutes. I'm like, I can't handle this. And she's like, Kindra, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happened, but your eyelashes are wild. They've just gone wild. And I was picturing these like big caterpillar eyelashes. And I'm like, she's like, you have all these little baby eyelashes. I don't know what you're doing, but something's happening. And then I had another hour. It took 2 hours, folks, to do these eyelashes. And I'm like, I am totally regretting this. And in that extra hour, do you know what I realized? I realized why my eyelashes are growing so much. Collagen. Yeah. Yes. So now I'm like worried to take the, no, I'm doing double scoops. I'm like, just keep them going. My eyelashes will look amazing. But my love for Beachbody pretty much equals my love. Look, I was just going to hide. Do you see all my weights from my B1, my one? Do you see them? They're right there. Cause I can just do my workout right there on the floor behind me. Okay. I just unplugged my computer. Julie, did you know that you were going to get the what is that called? Unplugged version. Yeah. Okay, good. But my love for Beachbody, my love of storytelling, they fit hand in hand. And the truth is, I discovered the power of storytelling and the power that stories can have when I was 11 years old. That's when I told my first story. It was an assignment for 5th grade. So we had to choose a children's book, and we were supposed to go read it to a 3rd grade classroom. So I remember walking into this 3rd grade classroom, and maybe we have some teachers on the line here. So I grew up in Minnesota. So yeah, I see the teachers waving. So I grew up in Minnesota, and it was the end of the year. So it was like springtime, and we were seeing the sun for the first time in like 10 months. So that was distracting. Okay. And then it was the end of the day. And so the 3rd graders in the room were like bouncing off the walls, and the teacher was sitting back there thinking, surely the bus has arrived by now, like to take these kids away. And it was my turn to stand up and try to corral these 3rd graders. So I remember standing up in front of the room, and I just kind of decided to put the book down and just tell the story instead. And it took maybe 3 sentences. And I held those 3rd graders in the palm of my hand. And I'll admit, like, even at 11, I kind of liked the power. Like, I was like, ooh, oh, maybe I'm onto something. Like, maybe if I want to get someone's attention, maybe if I want something, what I should do is tell a story. So I told stories to my parents, trying to get them to, buy me different things. I told stories in high school. I told stories, like, when I had to write papers in college, I would start the paper with a story. And on the papers that I didn't start until the night before they were due, I went really heavy on the story. And I did have a professor say to me once, like, okay, I love your storytelling, but maybe a paragraph of research would be good, because it was a research. Nevertheless, like, still, like, the stories got me places. And so storytelling over time really became my default. And another one of those moments where, and I think you'll all appreciate this, where I saw the power of story, and something that I wanted to share with you, so you can, if ever you question if people want to hear your stories. Several years ago, I used to teach spin class. Did you know that, Julie? I don't know if I told you that. I taught spin class. I had no business teaching spin class, honestly, but I went to this particular spin studio where you ride standing up the whole time. Like, you never sit down. We can talk about that later, Julie. And I rode really fast, and I rode really hard, and eventually they promoted me to instructor. But Julie, like, teaching, see, this is what I love about Beachbody is you get to be coaches and fitness instructors without all the stress of being a fitness, like, so I was on so hold on, we're going to do a lot of like little side stories here, like frontage road stories, if you're okay with that. So this summer we were on a little beach vacation, and usually when I'm on vacation, what I do is just eat all the things. Like, if there's food, I eat it because I'm on vacation. And then when it comes to working out, I'm like, but I'm on vacation. But I can't do that anymore. I'm in my late 30s. So now you gotta do something. So I figured I was at the beach. Maybe I should do Beachbody. So I looked up one of the programs for, you know, the morning meltdown 100, and it said bring a mat, bring a towel, bring your like a medium and heavy weights. So I took, and I thought, well, maybe my towel could be my mat. So I kind of doubled up on that. And I walked down to the beach, and I turned on my little cell phone. I put it down, you know, at the corner of my towel. It was a downbeat. It was downbeat street. I regretted that later. It was really hard, but I'm pretty sure I had it all figured out. Like, I was like, I'm looking at the ocean, I'm doing my workout, and I don't have to worry about the music. And see, that's the thing. When I was teaching spin, the number one stressor, the thing that made me so nervous is the music. Like, what if they hate my music? Like, they're not going to come to my class. What if they don't like Britney Spears? What if they don't want to ride to the, you're laughing. Britney Spears is great. Well, she has a few that are great to, you know, what is great to ride to is Spice Girls. Like, they will fire you up. So I had some Backstreet Boys, like Bye Bye Bye. You could, like, that goes well with a spin class, but I was really worried that people weren't going to like these songs. And so my strategy was to tell stories. Before every controversial song, I would just, you know, let them take a drink of water, and I would tell them a story. And one particular story I remember was for the song Kylie Minogue, I Can't Get You Out of My Head. Boy, Your Loving Is All I Think About. That was the song. And so just before the song was going to play, I told them the story of before I was dating my now husband, Michael. And he and I worked together. And one day the boss came in and was like, hey, can someone go pick Michael up from the airport? And I was like, you know, yeah, I'll do. I guess I will do it, because I wanted him to marry me. So, okay, but I didn't want him to know this quite yet. So I pulled up to the airport in my silver Grand Am. And as I pulled up, I rolled down, because you could roll down all the way. You had to use multiple fingers, but like this. Look at this little claw. Like, I rolled down all of the windows just as Michael was like pulling his suitcase out to the curb. And I pressed play on my CD player, and all of a sudden the chorus came on. I just can't get you out of my head. Boy, your loving is all I think about, as he got into the car, because I wanted to be subtle. I didn't want him to know. So I told this story, and people were like laughing. They're joking, you know, because I'm like, and then I played the song, and we all rode together. And this really, as time went on, like, my class was sold out. Like, every time, like, I taught 2 days a week, my class was sold out. And then when the time came for me to retire from, because I'm a retired spin instructor, when it came time for me to retire, the comment that I heard the most frequently was, we're really going to miss the workout, but we will especially miss your stories. And that's the thing that I want you to remember, because I wasn't telling big emotional stories. I wasn't telling anything. I was telling just like funny stories of my day-to-day moments in my life. And that's what people came to that class to see. That's what people came to be a part of. Like, yeah, they were working out, and yeah, they were whatever, but they wanted to be, because here's the thing. People are attracted to stories, and people are attracted to storytellers. Storytellers make us feel good about our life. They give us, so I'm quite confident that when I was telling the story of picking Michael up from the airport and my silly tactics for trying to get his attention and make me fall in love with him, some people think I like clobbered him over the head, which I almost did. That was the next thing I was going to do. But it reminded them of their own stories, of those innocent moments of love or hope or whatever it was. So first and foremost, that's really what I want to share with you right now is your people are going to come to you. They're going to come to this because of your, now they'll come for a lot of different reasons, but they will stay. They'll come and they'll stay because of the stories you tell. So that, I mean, I could just like drop the mic right there, except the mic is attached to my ear, and then I wouldn't be able to hear you. But you're all on mute, so maybe I should just, no. But that could right there be enough. If you would just believe that and act on that, that would have been enough. But I do want to give you a few other ideas, tactics, points, since you did come for a bonus call, since you are missing Bachelor in Paradise, that you can be thinking about, okay? So first we'll talk about a few more reasons why storytelling is such an important strategy for you to be incorporating and for you to be thinking about, for you to be committing to as a part of growing your business. Number two, I want to give you the 4 essential components, which Julie, you know, having been one of the first people to get to read the book, you know that we talk all about those 4 components in Stories That Stick, but I want to give you kind of a high level preview because the book doesn't come out for 2 weeks. 2 weeks tomorrow. Okay, but I don't want you to wait 2 weeks, so you can get started now. And then the last thing is I'm going to give you a few do's and don'ts for telling your stories. So let's start at the top of that, which is why storytelling is so important for you, and there's really 2 reasons. A, stories have the innate ability to communicate the true value of what it is that you offer. And number 2, people buy you. All right, so let's start with number 1. The true value. Now, here's the thing. I know that you can break down Beachbody in so many different ways. Like, I am ashamed to tell you that tomorrow morning I am going to spin class. Spin class, when you buy a 10-pack, it's $35 a class. And then I really wanted to get a good bike in this certain instructor's class, so I paid an extra $15. I thought that meant I was paying $40 to go to spin class. But I've never been very good at math. I'm actually paying $50. And it's making me very nauseous right now, right? Because come on, because I paid $99 for a 1-year subscription to Beachbody. I could just do it. So here's the thing, like the numbers aren't why the logic aren't why people are going to say yes to you. That's why they'll justify it. Like, I justify my subscription because it's so much cheaper than this other thing that I buy. Or when pumpkin spice, is the pumpkin spice sold out yet? No. Okay, good. So go buy it. I'm not into pumpkin. It's just not my thing. But I like the seeds. Like, if there was pumpkin seed Shakeology, maybe that would be it. Because I'm just a salt. Just give me all the salt. But I've seen those infographics where it's like the calories in a pumpkin spice Shakeology and the calories in a Starbucks, pumpkin spice latte, yeah, Starbucks pumpkin spice latte, that's disgusting. I can't even believe that you would even consider putting that in your body. Again, see, that's why it's good that I don't like pumpkin. I feel like God smiled upon me in that moment. But you can put those infographics up all the time. And yes, maybe some people will confirm their decision based on that logic. But the reality is people are going to say yes long before you put up that logic if you're telling them the story, because you are so much more than the price of your product. You are so much more than the ingredients in the little packets or the little scoops. I make such a mess out of the scoops. Thank goodness for those packets. Anyone else? Am I the only one? Like, I am I was in a hotel room. And I brought the citrus Energize and I was scooping it out and I left and there was just Energize everywhere. Like, I was like, they're going to think it's drugs, yellow drugs. I don't know if drugs come in yellow. Okay. But so that's the thing, is like, I'm not big into drugs. That should be a quote. Please put that up on social media. But that's the thing, is it's the stories of what these things mean for you. It's the stories of what being able to lay your towel down. I'll tell you this, I told you lots of stories. There was a day, my family and I were just having a day. I have 2 kids. I have my husband, so I have 3 kids. And we were just, and we started in the morning and we're like, okay, this is what he wants to do. This is what I want to do. And I was like, I have to get my workout in. But then all these things happened. And then he went to run this errand that was supposed to take post office. Never believe when they say they have to go to the post office. They'll leave for an hour. It's supposed to run to the post office. And he took my entire workout. So that was the day that I actually did the trial of the morning meltdown. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And it was the first time I had done a workout in my home in a very long time. And the kids were all around me and doing their thing. And I got my workout in. And it was the amount of serenity and pride that I had because I accomplished that. You can't replace that. No numbers are going to add that up. So what are the stories along your journey that illustrate the true value of what you have to offer? Because any amount of logic just isn't going to do it justice. You're so much more than that. And number 2, I said that storytelling is important because people buy you. Like, how many people, and I'm going to do something fancy here on my end. You're not going to tell that I can do it, but I'm going to turn on, I just did a gallery view. How many of you, part of the reason, did you join the team that you joined? Did you become a part of Beachbody because of the leader? Were you creeping on them for a while, following them for a bit, and you just really like them, right? I see everybody is raising their hands. Kelly is not raising her hand. Kelly is not raising, right? But that happens for so many people. We join because we feel connected to the person who is the leader. Here's the thing. How do we feel connected to somebody? How do we get to know somebody? We get to know them through their stories. This is how we get to know people on a day-to-day basis, and this is how we get to know people in this business. So in order for them to get to know you, so follow this logic. They will follow you because they feel like they know you. But in order for them to know you, you have to tell them your stories. That's the fastest way to make that happen. So there are just a few reasons, and obviously I could go on and on. Julie knows that I will. Fortunately, we will have more time together in the future, but for now, let's just leave it at that. Now what I'd like to do is move into the next part, which is really an answer to the question of like, okay, I know that storytelling is important, but how? Like, what do I need to do? How do I make my stories great? How do I make them more entertaining, more engaging, more persuasive? And to that, I want to go to these 4 key components that over time, I've been working in storytelling for, I already told you I'm bad at math. What is 11 minus 38? That is 17, 27. Is it 27? Oh, just like my spin classes. I was thinking it was 17. It's like I thought my spin class was $40, not $50. Okay, so the better part of almost 3 decades, which is crazy to say. And so over time, I've been testing personally what works to make a great story. I've been witnessing stories. I've been coaching people on stories. I've been consulting. Like, this is my work. And so just recently, we conducted a nationwide study that tested the 4 key components that make a great story. And it turns out that if your stories have these 4 things, they will be more entertaining, more influential, more memorable, more attention-grabbing. So here are the 4 pieces. And I know, are there any type A people on this call? Anyone? Kelly is now raising her hand. No, Kelly, I'm just teasing you. I can't see you. I moved it off of gallery screen. Okay, so if you are some of the type A people, you are my people. You should see my list of things to do today. Some of these things that are crossed up in pink, I use multiple colored pens, are things that I wrote on the list after I had already finished them, just so I could cross them off. So I'm going to give you the 4 things, and then I'll go more in depth on each one of them. Okay, so you can make your list. So the first one is identifiable characters. Character or characters. That's one of the things that your stories need. Number 2, it needs authentic emotion. That's number 2, authentic emotion. Number 3, it needs a moment. We'll talk more about that. So a moment. And number 4, specific details. So we have identifiable characters, authentic emotion, a moment, specific details. I love this. I'm watching you all writing, and then all of you, like, your heads all kind of pop up at about the same time. So then I know I'm done. I know it's okay to go on. I should have been a teacher. That's what I should. Peace out, guys. I'm going to go teach a 3rd grade. No, that's what I do. I go into like a 3rd grade class, and I get them all riled up, and then I'm like, peace, bye. Okay, so let's talk first, identifiable characters. Now this is easy for the work that you do. I work a lot in corporate America too. I'm working with big brands, and trying to get them to create stories that people can identify with is really difficult because they talk on a big brand level instead of the individual people. That's one of the huge strengths that you have in building your personal brand and building your brand in conjunction with Beachbody is it is a brand that is built up of many small stories, and you understand that. So the identifiable characters in your story is oftentimes going to be you. It's going to be you. It's going to be the people on your team. It's going to be the customers that you serve. And so that's a really good thing. So that is one of the components that's going to come really naturally to you. One enhancement that I want to give you is to give them greater insight. Like, don't just say your name, or don't you know a little bit. Your whole goal here is to get them to connect with you, to get them to connect with the character in the story. And again, how do they connect with them? By feeling like they know them. So don't you feel like like, you know, my credentials, Julie read those. You can see any of that on the internet. But when I told you my song choices for my spin classes, didn't you get a real clear idea of who this girl is, right? Like that right there, those small nuances, don't be afraid to include those to really paint the picture of who you, if you are the identifiable character, really is. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, authentic emotion. Now, here's what I want to say about this, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Authentic emotion, not big emotion, not tragic emotion, not Hollywood emotion, authentic, real, human emotion. Like, how many of you have ever felt a little bamboozled by the first day of school? Like, bamboozled is an authentic emotion. How many of you have ever felt guilt or frustration with yourself? How many of you have felt like that little twinge of pride? Like that day that I like finished my morning meltdown 100, I picked up my weights and I was walking back up the beach and I was like, boom, I did that. I mean, I did the easiest one. Another day I did the easiest one. It was like 20 minutes of just kind of like touching my toes. I was like, but look at me. I did that. I checked it off on my thing, right? Like those small moments of pride, that's what people are going to connect to. Never underestimate the power of your story because you feel like the emotion in it isn't big enough. You're not on the silver screen and you don't need to be. The people you're talking to are not on the silver screen, okay? You just need to be real, authentic, and make sure that that emotion is there. That will help you keep from just talking about the information. Okay, number three, a moment. This is what I mean by this. It's really easy to talk about your stories or to quote unquote tell your stories on a really high level. Like, I just love what this means for me. I have seen my body change so much in X amount of time. I believe in myself. I feel like I'm an entirely different person. Okay, but that is not going to be an entirely compelling story. So here's what the moment can really do for you. This is where you like hone in on a specific place, a specific time, a specific moment where you felt this. So for example, many years ago, when I was in graduate school, I had gained, I weighed 25 pounds. Julie, you did not tell me that so much math was going to be required in this. Holy cow. But I weighed 25 more pounds more than I did right now. I was unhappy. You know, everybody has their own thing, but I was unhappy with that weight. And so I had a moment, which I'm going to share with you this other moment, but there was another moment in that journey where I was like, I got to make a change. And so I did. And actually part of that change was using Power 90 VHS tapes, folks. At first, my dad tried to copy them for me, so don't tell Tony. But it wasn't successful. It didn't work. So then my dad wasn't going to use them. So he just gave them to me. And I still do the Power 90 abs. I do anyway, again. But so I went on this whole journey and I dropped 25 pounds. And I went in one day because there was an event. It was the end of the year party for my year at graduate school. I went shopping because I wanted to pick out a dress. And I went into Maurice's, the height of fashion. And I remember walking in and going through the racks and picking out the clothes that I wanted and going into the dressing room and trying them on. I closed the door of the dressing room and I tried on these dresses. And every one of them, I looked in the mirror and they were just wrong. Like I didn't. And then the very attentive sales clerk came and knocked on the door and was like, excuse me, can I help you with any sizes? And I opened the door and this dress is just like hanging off of me. I didn't even know. And she was like, oh, honey, you need a much, much smaller size. Let me help you. And she walked away and I closed the door because I was just, and I looked in the mirror and I thought, oh, I'm different now. And that moment was an important one for me. And so think about that. Doesn't that mean so much more than, oh my gosh, I've gone down 3 sizes or whatever? Like, and again, there are times where you can say that, but those stories that hone in, how many of you, when I was telling you that story, was in a dressing room? Were you in a, Kelly, I'm watching you. Hold on, let me put it back on. There, I see you, Kelly. Kelly with that. Okay, right, you've been in that dressing room, you've had that moment, or you've had those moments of, and maybe it was the other side, but see, it's the moment, it's honing in on the moment that's going to make a huge difference in the stories that you tell. And then the final component is including specific details. Because here's the thing. The point of all 4 of these components is what we're trying to do is drive the strength of storytelling. And the strength of storytelling is what I like to call the co-creative process. Because as we hear stories, we create our own version of those stories. When you're using these components, you're driving the imagination of the person who's listening to you. But here's the thing, they're not picturing, like when I was talking about spin class, maybe you've never even been to a spin class before, but as I was talking about teaching that spin class, were some of you picturing a spin studio that you've been in before? Yeah, like you were right there in the room with me. And I don't think any of you went to my spin studio, but you were in, like we were there together. And each one of these components is going to drive that process farther. For example, so this is specific, and specific details is the last way that you can do that. And this is one of the things that people leave out because they're like, oh, I don't have enough time, or I don't know what, like, why does that matter? But for me, I think the specific details are the things that matter the most. So for example, now I'm going to try to get real fancy here. I'm going to open up the chat and I'm going to ask you, how many of you remember the kind of car I was driving when I picked up my husband at the airport? Anyone? Type it fast. No, Julie, don't raise your hands. You can't say it out loud. You have to type it in. Grand Am, silver Grand Am. Yes, I remember it. Grand Am. Look at it. Da, 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 da. You all get, see, I knew you were type A people. Look, but it works on all types of the letters of the alphabet, okay? As you're using, I love this. Tracy, good job. Kelly, you just wrote yes. I just love Kelly. I hope she doesn't mind that I keep picking on her. Okay, but do you see how that, you didn't know it was happening at the time, but by including that very specific detail, I was guiding your imaginative process. I was guiding that co-creative process. And in doing so, my story will stick with you longer. Speaking of stories that stick, actually, that really is the title of the book. Julie, do you see how I did that? Okay, so like I said, I go way more into depth. You're such a good friend. I go way more into depth about these components and how you fit them into different stories, how you take these, and what if you don't have time to include all 4? What does it then mean for your story? How do you take big stories and fit them into small spaces? All of that is in the book. We'll get into that in just a minute, but the last thing I want to do before we move into Q&A is give you just a handful of do's and don'ts when it comes to telling your stories, particularly on social media, because that's the thing that I love about social media is, for me, what social media is an opportunity, a platform for telling stories. See, back in the day where I used to tell stories was at storytelling festivals. I know. You've all been to many a storytelling festival because they are so, right? Yeah, no, there weren't any storytelling. Like, it was really hard to find stages. And so I started sharing my stories on my MySpace blog because there wasn't, I know, see, again, dating myself, because there wasn't Facebook, or if there was Facebook, it was only for kids who were in college. And now there's Instagram, and now there's all these incredible, there's a thing called TikTok, which I'm too afraid to even, I don't even know what that is. But there's so many beautiful places to be sharing your stories. That's what social media is. Oh, and even mentioning that, I'm going to type in, if you don't already, I share all my stories on Instagram at Kindra Hall. Yeah, so come find me there. But here are a few do's and don'ts for sharing. Did I almost forget my own name? All right. Okay, so do's and don'ts for sharing your story. Number 1, let's start with the don't. Don't think, and this may be a little controversial, but it's important. Don't think that your stories always have to be about Beachbody. All right, keep this in mind. Like, people are buying you, they're buying the person you are. Maybe you're somebody who loves animals and really has a soft spot in your heart for animals. I gave my my daughter really wants a pet. And I found this rock on the beach that was calico colored. So I gave it to her and told her that it was her pet, Susan. And she is so mad at me about, she keeps asking for a pet. And I'm like, but what about Susan? So I am not going to appeal to the animal lovers, right? Like that's just not my, this is just not my thing. But don't think that you always have to be telling stories about Beachbody. You're so much more than just that. People are going to follow you because you're a mom or because you're an amazing aunt. They're going to follow you because you love gardening. They're going to follow you because you love to cook or because you hate to cook, right? So don't be afraid to share all the different stories of your life, as long as they are supportive of the overall message and the overall feeling you want people to have. You'll hear me as you follow my Instagram. I tell stories about my kids. I tell stories about being a working mom and a working mom who's gone from her kids on traveling a lot. I tell a lot of stories that all filter into that brand, but they're not all a part necessarily about speaking on stages and writing a book. So that's the don't. Another don't is don't feel, and I've mentioned this already, but don't worry about, your stories don't always have to be dramatic, okay? Very small, funny, sweet, interesting, curious stories that happen throughout your day are good enough. Like I feel like one of the big stopping points that people have is they're like, oh, my story isn't big enough. Like, who am I to tell my story? I don't have some huge tragedy that I've overcome or some big triumph. You know, I'm not earning a gazillion dollars and, you know, whatever it is. Think about all the people you're trying to reach. Where are they in their journey? They're making small steps. They're having small moments in their lives. Those small stories can make a really big difference. So those are two don'ts. In terms of the do's, the first do, and this is a question I get asked a lot, is do use your words. Right? Like there are going to be some posts where you're just like, shaking into the weekend, like, and it's just going to be you holding your blender bottle, and that's fine, right? Like that's just what it's going to be. But there are going to be times where it's entirely appropriate to write as much of a caption as Instagram or Facebook will allow. Because let me ask you this. How many of you have ever been reading a post that was telling a story and then it says continue in the comments, and you continue in the comments? You don't have time to continue in the comments, but you don't care because you're in the story. You want to read it. You want to be a part of it. You're engaged already. So do integrate into your social media strategy telling long form stories. Those are the ones that are going to get the engagement. And over time, as you start, sprinkling those in. Now, let me warn you, it takes work. It's hard to do. It's much easier to post a really simple caption and move on with your day. And I do that too. I have really busy weeks where all you're going to see are super cheesy captions. But on the days and the weeks that I take time and really write out a story, that's when the engagement goes through the roof. And that's what brings people back wanting to know more. The last do that I have for you is do it. Do it tomorrow. Here's what I want you to do. Choose a picture. Choose. So you can either choose a picture that you already have that you really want to post, and then think, what's a story that I could tell about this picture? Like that has those 4 components in it. Okay, so maybe you have a picture you want to post. I need you now to figure out a story to tell that matches that picture or is related to that picture. Or the other side is if you have a story that you really want to tell, maybe something funny that happened yesterday or something difficult that you did today or whatever it is, if you have a story, then I want you to write that story and just take a picture or find a picture that is somewhat connected to that story. And I want that to be your post tomorrow. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to be an overnight success, but I am saying that sometimes it can be. So, number 1, just do it. I should trademark that. Oh, wait. I think someone else did. All right. So one last thing before we go to Q&A. Julie, I'm going to write in here. So you may or may not know that my book, yes, direct selling, thank you, Julie, StoriesThatStick.com is available for pre-order. It comes out in 2 weeks. So what I'm going to do is give you a special bonus. If you go tonight and order Stories That Stick, so go to Amazon, go to Target. If you go to Target, you'll end up buying way more than you intended to. So fair warning, don't say I didn't tell you. Go pre-order the book. Then I want you to take a screenshot of your order confirmation where it's like, yay, you've ordered the book. Then go to this website, directselling.storiesthatstick.com. When you go there, enter your information, upload the picture of your confirmation, and then what I'm going to do is you're going to get a mailing from me. So I'm going to send you an autographed, oh, I had one sitting here. Oh, here it is. Look. Autographed book plate. So this is a sticker and it has my signature on it. So then when your book comes, it'll be a signed copy and I'll write your name on there. I'll put like a little heart or a little note on there for you. So that's exciting. I'm also going to send you a bookmark because why not? But the other good news is I have a online training that is specifically designed for you called Story Your Way to Success in Direct Selling Mastery. It's a $40 value. It comes with an ebook and a whole bunch of modules. You will get automatic access to that for free. So pre-order the book, go to that website, enter your info, you get all that good stuff. Oh, someone said that is awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Kelly, I expect you to put in a good word here. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Kelly, I'm going to give it to you. We've got like 3.5 minutes.
Okay, before we go or we ask a question, because there was a really good question that I want to share with you real quick. I need everyone to take your picture right now so that you can put it on story and tag Kindra. So 1, 2, 3, hold on. I got to get out of my speaker view.
What should I do? I'm not wearing any lips. I'm wearing my pajamas.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Okay.
So take your screenshot. I guess I should do that too. Hold on. Everyone smile. Okay, now you got your picture to put on social and tag Kindra to tell her thank you. Okay, so one question that was on here, and I don't know how quickly you can answer it, Kindra, is something about introverts. Oh yeah, so if someone feels like that they're an introvert and don't really share or talk to others, how do you use stories? I think it's I think social media is a beautiful way because you can share a story that actually ever really talking to anyone.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing that you wouldn't. And I feel weird saying, but I'm actually an introvert. Like, so I go, like, if a group is like, hey, we want you to speak to 20,000 people. I'm like, okay, awesome. That's amazing. And we want you to do a special breakfast for 15 right beforehand. No, I want to die. Like, I just can't, right? Like give me the 20,000 where I don't have to. But here's a great thing about storytelling and introversion. Is I find that when you're having conversations with people, what I struggle with is the small talk. Like I just can't. So when you're thinking in terms of stories, what happens is if you tell a little story, and this is true on social media, this is true one-on-one. If you're the introvert and you know you have to be in this conversation, if you share a little story, you tell one of your stories, short. What will end up happening is they will tell you a story in return. And then the pressure is off of you to keep talking, right? And the same is true then on social media. Here's the thing is like when you share a story, really what you're doing is giving them an invitation to engage with you. And when they engage with you, it takes the pressure off of you. So I think that's one of the reasons, looking back over the course of my life, that I defaulted so much to storytelling, both in school, in personal relationships, and in business, is because it took the pressure off of me. Once I told the story, they started responding with stories, and we could go from there. Not only that, you start building more meaningful relationships. And as an introvert, I'm okay with meaningful relationships. It's the non-meaningful ones that stress me the heck out.
That's awesome. So you all have taken your picture, and is anyone else now even more obsessed with Kindra Hall than you were before? Because I am like the Hugh Grant's sister in Notting Hill, that movie where we're talking to Julia Roberts, and she's like, I feel like we would be BFFs, except I'm the awkward sister, and Kindra is Julia Roberts. Like that's how I feel. Like I think we would be BFFs. You know, I think in my head.
It's really possible. Thank you so much, Julie. Oh my gosh, thank you, everyone.
Yes, we'll go pre-order the book right now. We know you've got another call. Thanks for your time tonight.
Bye. We love you.
I just want to save the chat. Where is my save chat option? I'm trying to save my chat so I can. Now I cannot see it. More down. And more.
I don't know the answer to that, but can you hear me?
I can. It's just, it has an option for me to go live and more, but it doesn't. It used to be kind of at the top and I could just save it. I want to save it just in case anyone had a question. I wanted to save that link too, but I'm not seeing it.
I don't know, but thank you for asking her to be on the call. Like, I know you're relatively new friends with her and don't see her that often, so it must have been quite the decision to ask her to speak, probably not paid. So that was awesome of you to do. So thank you very much.
Isn't she amazing?
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's so good. Also, what's fun about, I'm just going to go copy that link and I'll put it in the team page rather than try to find it. Also, what's cool is she did do an audio version of her book. And it will come out, I think, at the same time that the book comes out. So you can pre-order it, and I think you'll get a pre-order copy ahead of time. But when the actual hard copy book starts shipping, September 24th, I think maybe that's when her audio is available. So
okay,
if she's anything like she was on our call tonight, I just envision her taking what she wrote and expounding on it even more as she's reading it, and that the audio would be amazing. So make sure that you're getting that too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go put this little link over in the team page. You guys have a great night. Thanks for being on.
Bye.